All right, let's go shove one of these trucks inside and see if we can get something done this weekend. All right, we got this thing shoved in the garage. This is my 1967 Ford F100. It's a long bed truck. Let's take a look at what we've got and talk about what the plans are for this truck. All right, let's take a look at this thing. You know, I really like this truck. It's a shame it does not have a title. So I picked this truck up for parts, and that's exactly what we're going to use it for. So to talk about what are the plans for this truck, well, it's got a 240 inline-six and a 3-speed transmission under the hood, just the same as my short bed yellow F100. So my thoughts are, why not pull this engine out, see if we can get it running, and put it into the yellow truck. And you might think, why not just get the engine in the yellow truck running? Well, it's been open to the elements for a very long time, as long as I've owned it. So I don't think that engine is probably any good. But this one seems to have a tag on it that it's been rebuilt at some point. So it's not the original engine even. So if we pop the hood on this thing, there's what we're after. And right down in here, hopefully you can see it okay, we've got a Sun Motor Supply, Tulsa, Oklahoma rebuild sticker, so a rebuild tag. So I feel pretty confident that this old thing will run. I spun it by hand and it turned free, and I went ahead and put start wire to it and turned it with the starter, and it turns free, so we'll see if we can get it to run. All right, so in preparation for getting this engine running, I built this sort of makeshift wiring harness and ordered a handful of parts off of Amazon because I did want to make sure this thing runs, because the plan is to swap it into the short bed truck. So we've got our 12-volt positive terminal here. It's got a couple of powers to power the switch panel and the push button and the relay here. So we've got main power out to the starter solenoid. We'll hook the starter in the truck up on the other side. We've got our exciter wire going to our start button. We wired our ignition up to this switch. It actually has the trigger for this relay. The relay is putting out to our HEI distributor. We also have our fuel pump on a switch. This is our new electric fuel pump that we're going to install. We've got some new fuel line and a filter, new single barrel carburetor, and ultimately this should get it running, short of a internal engine failure. But take a look at this wire that was the original starter wire that was in there. Just completely the jacket and everything gone. So I actually was concerned that the starter wasn't going to work, but I replaced the wire and it was turning, so that's a good sign. All right, let's test out this new wire and see if this starter's actually any good. Cranking a little slow, but that'll work. So really quick, before I do the install on this distributor, I just want to talk about how I'm going to do it. And there's a couple of ways you can do it, and maybe this is not the right way to do it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this distributor that's in here now. I'm going to take note of which direction the rotor is pointing, and I'm going to drop it back in the exact same way. I'm going to put my plug wires on the same way, and ideally, so long as it was timed correctly before, we should be at least close enough to get this thing running. If that doesn't work, we'll pull it back out. We'll do it the right way. All right, so I'm getting this thing dropped in here, and I just want to show one thing. And that is when you drop this in here, you see the rotor kind of spins as that gear goes in. Well, I'm not in the position I want to be in, so I'm going to bring that back out. And I'm going to keep kind of walking it in that gear until I do get it aligned in the spot that I want. All right, let's quickly go through where we're at. So we've got our carburetor installed. We've got our fuel line over to our electric fuel pump over here. Into our gas can. We got our HEI distributor in, new plug wires. We got our control panel hooked up here. And should have ignition here. There's our fuel pump running. Let's see if it'll light off. Hold on. Got something here. Okay, we've got action. All right, let's hit it again, see if it'll run. See if we can get it to idle maybe. I mean, wow, started right up that time. It will run. Wow. It's quieting out, smoothing out. Wow. It's gonna idle. Let me adjust the idle, see what we can do. All right, let's hit it again here, and we're gonna just try and adjust on it on the fly here. But guys, this thing actually takes it right. Check that out, guys. Things just cranking away. Heck yeah. Our parts work, truck's running. Success. All right, I got some sleep, and I realized when I was editing some last night that my mic must have died, so I've got it hooked back up here, and hopefully we'll fire this thing up and you can hear it run a little bit better. And then we'll talk about where we're going from here. So. All right, well, hopefully you can hear that a little bit better, but it really is running pretty smooth. I think we've got a little mist to it still. I haven't checked the timing or anything yet. There's a lot of work to do yet, but it runs, and we'll get it running a little bit better. And probably the more it runs, the better it will run. But it's funny, I looked underneath the truck this morning, and you can see where it was full of acorns and leaves and everything else in the exhaust, and it just must have blown it out all over the garage floor when I started it up. But anyway, running pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how it's going for its first day back to life in probably 20 years. So, well, we got our parts installed, we got the engine running. Sounds pretty good. We're gonna keep wrenching on it and see if we can get it to come around even more. But that's all for today's video. I think I've got a lot of work ahead of me still, adjusting the clutch and the brakes and you know, a handful of other things that we might find. Need to do an oil change, clean out the interior. So I'll be putting that out here soon, but for now, we're going to leave it where we're at today, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know. Thanks.